Being a priest means you never quite know what's going to happen during the course of the day. Unexpected things, people coming to the door, the phone ringing, all sorts of things. And someone said to me once, "How would you describe being a priest?" And I said, "It's exciting." And they looked at me and said, "Exciting? That's not the word I would have thought." But it is. And I want to tell you what ended up for me as a very exciting story. When I was parish priest in Custom House, and as you know, I used to be the assistant to the bishop as Vicar General, I had a phone call from the offices, the diocesan offices, and said, "Can you phone this number urgently?" So I picked up the number and I phoned the office, and the answer was Thames Water. I thought, now why did Thames Water want me urgently? So I phoned, I got the number, and oh yes, hang on a moment, I'll put you through. And they put me through to this office, and they said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Well, I don't know." They said, "We need you urgently tomorrow." I said, "Why do you need me urgently tomorrow?" They said, "Because they won't start work without you." And I was totally bemused, as you probably are a bit bemused at the moment. And the story was this. Under London, they were building a new sewer, a massive great tunnel right the way under London. And they were just about ready to start the work. But the tunnellers would not start until something had happened. And this was what I had to do. When I walked in to the offices, they said, "Here is the statue of St. Barbara." And I said, "Okay. And they won't start work until you've blessed the statue of St. Barbara, until you've gone down the hole in the ground, and you've placed the statue of St. Barbara in the shrine." I said, "You're kidding." I said, "No." They said, no, we're not. So the next day, I had to go with my gas mask. I had to go down this tunnel. They stopped work everywhere. And I carried this statue, this is about 6 years ago, down in the little rickety lift to the bottom of the shaft. And there was this most beautiful shrine, surrounded by flowers. And all the men were standing there. And I placed this statue up in the shrine. And the statue looked down the direction of the tunnel. And as soon as she was there, they started work. Now, this statue today, I'm going to present to one of the schools. I'd love to present it to both of the schools, but I can't. But I'm going to present it to one of the schools which has suffered the most problem with the work in the tunnels crisscrossing East London at the moment. The Crossrail Tunnel, the Super Sewer Tunnel, you name it. So this is going to St Joachim's, and I know St Helens will understand, with my love. But most importantly, what you'll see at the bottom, and why you'll see this is so precious to me, because at the bottom, the symbol of St Barbara is the crossed hammers. And all us West Ham supporters know how important that is. And there they are, the crossed hammers, the West Ham sign on the bottom. Now, why do I say that today? Why am I saying this about St Barbara, the fact I'm giving you the statue? Because of a very simple truth. God's message comes through people. And sometimes they're called teachers. They're always called parents. Sometimes they're called grandparents and uncles and priests and sisters. And every now and again they're called saints. Because God shows us himself through people. Yes, we can read books. Yes, we can do all those sorts of things. But it's through people that we learn about God. And so saints like St. Barbara, saints like the saints today from Korea, who we ask their prayers for today, for that country that's in such a dangerous situation at the moment. But saints are people who are close to God and who make God real and close to us. That's why they're so important in our life. And sometimes they are recognised by the church. Like St. Barbara, like St. Andrew, like St. Helen, like St. Joachim, like St. Anne, like St. Edward. These are all saints because the church says, be inspired by their life. Model yourself on them. Why? Because they show us what Jesus is like. Through their life, they show us the truth about Jesus Christ. The words that we hear are important, but much more important is the way those words are lived out in life. That's why the saints and our teachers and our priests and our sisters and our parents and grandparents and our aunts are also important in our life. Because our faith is not an idea. It's not a book. It's a person. And that person's called Jesus. And Jesus walked among us. And here in Walsingham, that's what we celebrate as the heart of the message. When Our Lady appeared here in Walsingham, she asked Richeldis to build a house in honour of the Annunciation. And it was at the Annunciation that we heard those words, and the Word became flesh and lived among us. God became one of us. He walked with us. And he's so inspired so many people that we can look around and see what Jesus is like, the way Jesus lived his life, through these wonderful gifts of the people that God gives us. So today, just for a moment, I want you children and everybody else to close your eyes. And I want you to answer this question. Who taught you about Jesus? Who was it? Who was the person, who were the people who taught you about Jesus? And give thanks for them, because they're precious in your life. O holy saints of God, pray for us.